MidLIFE Matters, where we celebrate women's wisdom and wit. I'm Georgian Lussier, your host, and I'm delighted to introduce today's guest, Gwen Samuel. Gwen is the president and founder of Connecticut Parents Union, and she is a taxpayer advocate and much, much more. We're all in for a treat. Welcome, Gwen.
Thank you so much for having me. I work with the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus and other lawmakers, and we introduced a parent empowerment law. And the attacks on parents was so brutal. It didn't matter what color you were. Mm-hmm. Parents weren't capable of being engaged in their children's life, making decisions, regarding education. And I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Government. Last time I checked the birth certificate, your name wasn't on there. Mm-hmm. So, parents need to be an active part of their children's education because it's their children. And so I introduced the law, and the attacks were so brutal that I said I just never wanted to see that again. So I worked with parents, and we formed the Connecticut Parents Union in 2011, January 14th. And the bottom line is to protect the educational rights of children. And that's how many people know me, as that fierce advocate for children. And because it's not a soundbite that children are our future. Like, they really are. Mm-hmm. And if you don't invest in them now, you're going to have two choices. They're either going to be taxpayers or they're going to be tax burdens, meaning our prison systems, our temporary, our welfare systems, right? The systems that the government kind of has to take care of you until you hopefully take care of yourself. And I'm saying no. Give children the tools so that they can live self-governing lives. And so that's why we formed the Connecticut Parents Union, to ensure that every child, regardless of skin color, zip code, school model, has access to what they need to be productive, self-governing.
Speaking of politics, you're also a taxpayer advocate.
Yes, I'm a big time, because, I don't know, Connecticut's a beautiful state, beautiful people, but we need to do better at being fiscally responsible. People are doing the best they can with their limited resources. We've had so many small businesses permanently closed down. The private sector was shut down during this pandemic. And so now people are trying to find their bearings. People have lost their homes. People are being displaced. And so that means when the money, our government, when our elected officials have our tax dollars, then they need to be fiscally responsible and ensure that there's a return on that tax investment. And that's the challenge with our state. The checks and balances are very limited. Transparency is a bad word. And I'm like, well, it can be you can be non-transparent with your money. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the taxpayers' money, we want to know how you're spending it. I'm excited to be working with three amazing women now, because now I work with, I'm a fund manager as well now. I'm not just the founder of the Connecticut Parents Union. I formed with three amazing women something called Restore, Build, Grow Opportunity Zones. Because I learned there was a law in 2017 that private investors can invest in many of these distressed areas. Mm-hmm. I say that to say, as I segue what I would tell myself, just be curious to know, to ask more questions. But you're like, we're young, I don't need to know. Tomorrow's not promised. Mm-hmm. One thing I've learned with loss is tomorrow is not promised. So just spark curiosity in our children. And encourage them to want to know. It's tough out there. The peer pressures are very real. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm a part of this new group, this Opportunity Zone Fund, to see how can I work with private investors to invest in these distressed communities, to expand workforce development opportunities, help lift all boats during this pandemic. And that's what I would tell the younger self. Work with our young people. And to the older generation, share some of that wisdom, right? Let our young people know the liberties that they actually have. Because if you don't help our young people learn how to respect it and learn from it and nurture it, you may subconsciously want to destroy it. And so I'm all about empowering people to tap into their own liberation efforts. Mm-hmm. I hear people say, I'm going to the Black community or the brown, I'm going to build this. No, engage the community in that process, because people want to be a part of their liberation efforts. People prefer to work than want the handout, contrary. Mm-hmm. Because I always tell people, the one who feeds you will control you. Mm-hmm. but it's easier to get a potato chip in an urban community than a potato.
Thank you very much, Gwen. Those are just wonderful, wonderful experiences that you've shared and your perspective, and I thank you so much for being a guest on MidLIFE Matters.
And thank you so much for having me. I just had a
Absolutely.
birthday, so I'm definitely in midlife.
Absolutely. And please tune in to hear other fascinating women on future segments of MidLIFE Matters. I'm Georgian Lussier, your host. Thank you for joining us.